Hey guys, I'm recording a video that's going to be two questions combined today. Both of them are pretty interesting questions. They're pretty basic within the workout community. Um, but they're essential to learning how to work out correctly and figuring out what's right for your body. So the first one is, what is the difference in between body weight workouts versus resistance workouts? And then the second one being the benefits of anaerobic workouts versus aerobic workouts. Just the differences between the two. So to begin with, a lot of people begin to think, oh, if I do heavy resistance training, or what is termed as resistance training, usually using weights, machines, free weights, whatever you prefer, that I'll get really big. And then, there's body weight training, and there's less of a stigma associated with body weight training, since it's believed that, if you want to be big, you don't do that. What it really boils down to, the difference between those two, is the amount of resistance that your muscles are overcoming when you complete a rep, for example. So say I'm doing bench press versus a push-up. They're basically the same, but it really comes down to two things in terms of how your nerves fire and how your muscles react. So when you do body weight movements, your nerves are becoming attuned to moving with your own mechanics within the different distances that are involved with your arms and stuff, and how to best and most efficiently adapt to these body weight movements. Versus when you, for example, use a barbell for a bench press, it's learning to move the weight as well. So the reason why it's easier to get really good, or to progress really fast with bodyweight movements, is because your nerves don't have to factor in learning how to properly move the barbell consistently, and so that's why you can make quicker gains that way. But they stall a lot faster because the learning curve is that much steeper. It starts off really quickly and then peters out pretty quickly after that, unless you incorporate a lot of different types of movement. But semantics. And in terms of the way your muscles respond, body weight movements generally don't give you that many options without getting really complex and incorporating a lot of different training techniques. Whereas let's just stick with push-up and bench press. Whereas with bench press, you can go with just a bar, you can go with just a broomstick, you can go really heavy and put many plates on there. So the amount of resistance varies, and that's really the only difference that most people focus on in between body weight versus resistance style training, is just the amount of resistance, and that's what it boils down to. So unless you haven't been working out at all for a long time, then body weight workouts like a push-up, or weight-based workouts like the bench press, aren't really going to change that much in terms of how much they affect your muscles. So with both, there's going to be a point where you reach a level of adaptivity where your muscles are like, alright, whatever you're doing right now isn't that much of a big deal. I know what it is you're doing, so you're going to need to end up switching it up with both. But the main differences are that your body will, like I said before, adapt more quickly in terms of the muscle recruitment pattern from your nerves to body weight training, but it will be more able to handle a awkward or just an outside force, just an object, as opposed to your own body, if you do weight-based training. And then in terms of your nerves, you can get more varied results because of the options available to you with weight training, using weights such as a barbell. But you can get I think it's kind of fun to do bodyweight training because you can get very creative. So that's body weight versus resistance style training. There's not really much of a difference in terms of the way your muscles are affected. It's just differences in resistance. On to anaerobic versus aerobic. Aerobic workouts are mostly when your body begins to need oxygen to create ATP to make the myosin and actin filaments contract in your muscles. So that's why when you go out on a long run, you need to do that, because it begins to use your, now I can't remember the term, and I was drilled into my head in 7th grade. The organelle in the cell that creates energy in a long-term fashion. The one that, you know, is deemed to be the most important because it has to do with respiration, because it needs oxygen to perform the process. Anaerobic workouts are typically workouts or exercises that require an amount of force that can't be brought up by an aerobic style reaction within your cell. Because while it does produce more energy over time, it takes a long time to do that. Mitochondria, that's what it is. Okay, sorry. Going back to aerobic for a moment. Your mitochondria take a long time to produce a larger amount of ATP versus an anaerobic style reaction within the cell. And that's why when you go on a long run or you do a really long workout that doesn't have many breaks between exercises, like a circuit, then your breathing becomes really heavy because you've depleted your muscles' anaerobic abilities pretty quickly, and then your body has to switch over to aerobic. So getting back into anaerobic, usually that involves really powerful explosive movements, like sprinting, like a 100-meter sprint. You know, the best in the world, you know, it lasts under 10 seconds. You know, for most normal people, you know, anywhere between 10 and 20, 25. And so that it usually involves I'm probably not getting the terminology exactly correct, but it's a creatine phosphate reaction within your cells. It's a very quick reaction, and it produces the most energy. It's associated with your type 1 muscle fibers, the ones that have the most myosin and actin filaments within the body of the cell, and they fatigue at the quickest rate. That's why, you know, generally not able to do anything more than 5 to 6 reps of your really heavy stuff, because after that it begins to kick into there are 3 different types of cellular reactions. So the second one, I can't remember what it's called, but it's in between the creatine phosphate reaction and when your mitochondria begin to kick in. So it's somewhere in between. So I think that's type 2A, and then type 2B is over here, the endurance ones. And so type 2B is usually in between. You know, it's pretty decently heavy load, but it's nothing crazy. You know, you can usually go up to 15 reps at the maximum, and then after that, that's when your mitochondria begin to kick in, because it takes them that amount of time, usually after 60-ish seconds, I would say. I could be totally wrong on that, and I will look that up for you guys, and if it's wrong, I will post a little, I don't know, some sort of annotation or something, probably across my face, to let you guys know that I'm wrong. But that's basically the difference. It just involves different reactions within different cells. And I'm actually not positive if those reactions are specific to those cells. I'm sure it probably isn't. But that's my knowledge of the subject. So it usually, for example, in terms of recovery from anaerobic versus aerobic, aerobic versus anaerobic, you know, your mitochondria just need glycogen. They just need, you know, some store of sugar, of calories. Your creatine phosphate ones need creatine and phosphate. They need, you know, certain chemicals that your body can create, but you know, it'd be nicer, you know, if you could supply that for them. And the recovery time between each varies. Like, you know, it takes a longer time for your body to digest carbohydrates into simple sugars and then store them in your cells so that it can, you know, use the mitochondria to create ATP through their process. But with creatine phosphate, it's pretty quick. That's why for example, I can't remember the training technique, but it involves, if you're going heavy, for example, say you're doing your 6 rep max on, you know, leg press. You do 3 to 4 reps, pause for 5 to 10 seconds, which allows your cells to briefly replenish their creatine phosphate stores so they can go again for another couple reps. And that is one way to quickly overload the muscle fibers. It's actually a pretty advanced training technique. I'll do a video on training techniques sometime soon if you guys want one. But that's just an example of how it works. It's a pretty quick recovery process, depending on, you know, how hard you push them. And it's not a full recovery, by the way, but that particular technique utilizes a quick form of recovery so you can do more work with a heavy load that you wouldn't be able to normally do as much work with in one set. I think that's about it. If you have any other questions on it, then definitely, you know, ask them in the comments, and I'll make a video if I can by, you know, tonight if you ask in time, or, you know, by the end of tomorrow, definitely. So, yeah, that's the difference in between body weight versus, you know, resistance style training. That's what it's called. I don't really like the term, but that's what it is. And the difference in between aerobic and anaerobic exercises. If you guys have any more questions, hit me up in the comments, on Facebook, I've actually got a blog up now, so you can ask me there. I'd like it to be on the Facebook channel or here on the YouTube channel. But if you have to ask it in the blog, which I'll be posting a link to below, then that's fine. So, if you have any more questions, ask away. Talk to you guys next time.